Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. It is 57 degrees out, which for me in Florida is cold. So I got socks and a sweater and everything on. If you are new to my content, if you've not come across me before, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a spiritual teacher. I absolutely love teaching people how to get past their mind and in touch with their true essence so that you can do what you came here to do. If you're joining me for book club live, just let me know when you arrive so that I know you're here and I know when we can get started. I like to usually start at the top of the hour. We do book club. Hey, Lou. We do book club. Hey, Stacy. Every single Monday at noon Eastern time. Now, I know time changing is starting around the world. Australia shifted, but not all of Australia. And anyway, so just pay attention to your time zone. We're reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And this book is so good. It says a guide to spiritual enlightenment. It surely is. So it is going to be the thing to help you get out of your mind and get into the truth of who you are. And this chapter specifically was really sort of like the guidebook. Did you guys feel that? Hey, Angela. He was really showing you kind of the how-to of what to do. Like, it's one thing, I think, to talk about from the mind level, how to be present. And it's another thing to be shown how to actually get yourself present. It makes a big shift. So I'm curious, I see a handful of you here. If you join us later, just make sure you fast forward to where I am now. If you're on live, if you're catching the replay, let me know you're catching the replay. I'll look at the comments. I'm glad that you guys are here. And, oh, Bodie is also glad you're here. What are you barking at, love? He doesn't know. The UPS guy already came for the day, so I don't know. He missed that. Also, he was upset. All right, my first question. Have you done like the body scan throughout the week? We did a body scan last week where I kind of walked you through and you were feeling the difference between the left half and the right half of your body. Did you ever just check in? I mean, sometimes I just check in, like if I'm brushing my teeth or I'm doing something mundane. I just give myself a minute to go, where am I at? Like, how am I standing one way more the other? Are my shoulders rounded forward? Are they coming back? Like, where is my body and how's my body feeling? If you didn't do that, I would encourage you to do that. What he was sharing with us last week and what we discussed is really important to start to get in touch with the body. I loved the first question in this part of the book where someone said, look, it was super uncomfortable. Like I tried to get in touch with my body and I felt sick. Like I felt nauseous. Like what the heck was that? And you said that was emotions. Like you didn't process your emotions. Something I love about like Bodie right now, my dog, he's on alert. And in a moment, he'll shake because his sympathetic nervous system got activated. He thought someone was coming in the house just now. And so hair went up, like he got alert. And when he realizes there's no threat, he hasn't realized it yet. He's still like patrolling all of our windows. I'm in the sunroom, so we have a lot of windows. But when he realizes there's no threat, he'll kind of shake it off and he'll go and he'll lay down. The body, like his body, has to literally discharge the energy. And something interesting with us humans, our mind gets in the way and we jump in. We stop emotions from fully moving and they can get lodged in our system. And so literally, if you're not paying attention, if you're not connected with your body, when you do check in with it, you might sense that there's, like this guy said, I had a feeling of agitation and some nausea. And Eckhart Tolle said, yes. That's likely because there's some past event that you haven't fully processed that's just kind of lingering in your system, right? We don't shake, right? We say shake it off, but we don't actually shake it off our body. Like we do at the mind level, but there's an intricate balance between the body and the mind. So just something interesting. He says here on page 99, I know we were kind of like, it was a weird week. We're in the middle of chapter 6, going into chapter 7. So page 99 in my book. Stacy says, I was so having this conversation with my mom about this. Yeah, it's like when you realize this, you start to pick up on it and you'll start to see it in your own body. Start with you first, and then you can start to catch it in other people too. Hey, Charlotte. So he says, attention is the key to transformation and full attention implies acceptance. Now, acceptance we've talked a lot about, right? He's mentioned acceptance a lot, meaning we have to be with what is, right? And if we accept what is, now we're able to bring attention to what's needed. But if we don't accept what is, then we're never going to even be able to be in our body because we're not going to be able to accept the feeling that we're feeling in our body. So acceptance is key. And then he says the attention, I loved this, it's like a beam of light The focused power of your consciousness transmutes everything into itself. So when you bring the light of awareness, when you bring the light of consciousness to something, the light itself, it's like shining a light in a dark room. It gets rid of whatever was there and transmutes it, allows it to go back to just being consciousness. Everything is energy. So, I mean, the analogy I would use is like an ocean and a wave, right? And the wave goes back to being the ocean. It knows itself as the ocean. It just kind of cycles back in. And so if you can bring that focused attention, there's a practice that I do called Yoga Nidra. And those of you that are in Inner Management Mastery, you're getting a private Yoga Nidra session. And it's profound. But what's interesting is that this was developed by the yogis like thousands of years ago. And what he was talking about in this chapter is part of Yoga Nidra. So this is ancient knowledge. This is ancient wisdom. And one of the things that they do in Yoga Nidra is they call it 61 points, where they guide you from point to point through the body, having you pay attention to different points. What they say is you're literally bringing the light of the divine to each point as you go there. And it walks you through the entire body. And as you bring awareness there, like most people that do Yoga Nidra don't know this, but it's actually bringing the light of the divinity to that area. And just like he says, that alone, the awareness alone, the beam of light shining there, which is just through your own awareness, can shift and change things. I've watched some cool things happen through Yoga Nidra. I've had cool things happen just to myself through it and had beautiful releases of things. It's a really powerful practice, really, really powerful practice. And he gave a couple of examples of how you can do this yourself, or maybe record yourself telling yourself what to do so you can listen to yourself telling you what to do, or join Mastery. We can do it together. So the next page, he talks about the power of forgiveness. I had never heard this quote. He says, Jesus says, before you enter the temple, forgive. I don't know why. I've gone 35 years with not hearing that, but I'd never heard it. And I'd actually never heard this, like, talking about the power of forgiveness like this. The moment you truly forgive, you have reclaimed your power from the mind. And I thought, I've never thought of forgiveness in that way. Like, a lot of times we think about forgiveness as forgiving the other. But you have to forgive within yourself as well, you know? And he says, then you've reclaimed your mind. Because he says the mind, the ego, the false self, it can't survive without strife or conflict. So it likes to just, right? It likes to have an issue. It likes to have an enemy. It likes to have someone to butt up against. But the moment you forgive, it has nothing to butt up against, right? It's just received. And that's forgiveness. I just thought that was really, really interesting. I don't know if anyone else has comments on the whole forgiveness thing, but this perspective on forgiveness, I thought, I got to chew on that a little more. I think I'm still chewing on it. Like, what does it mean to forgive, like, the ego mind, really? Like, how, it's like you just drop what it has to say about it. Like, it's an interesting concept. My brain's still bouncing around with this one. Tammy says hers is too. Yeah, it's still like chewing on this. And interestingly, I just came back from meditation with Gurudev, and this is what he was talking about today too. So it's in my world in multiple places. And he was saying, once you forgive the ego mind, you're liberated. And you're in touch with your true self, which is the same thing I believe that Eckhart Tolle is saying in this. It's just like the processing of that is interesting, because I've never thought I needed to forgive my mind. But maybe some of the grievances my mind has, I don't know. So Lou's saying, if you don't, otherwise the mind consumes you. Yeah, it's a difficult concept. Yeah, I agree. I'm like, am I forgiving someone else through my mind, or am I forgiving my own mind for the conflict it's causing? I could understand forgiving my own mind for the conflict it's causing, but if I'm forgiving another, that's through my ego mind. So anyway, Fritz says understanding it and actually accomplishing it are very different. Yes, this is also true. So I think we've got some work on this one. I think we certainly do. Did this resonate with anyone? And maybe this is exactly what we're getting at. This is hilarious. Of course this is. So this person, the way this book is written, if you're not familiar with the book, it's like people asking questions of Eckhart Tolle and him answering. And this person says, I must admit that this is way beyond my comprehension. This is hilarious. I forgot that this was the next part. And yet, on some deeper level, I seem to know what you're talking about. It's more like a feeling than anything else. Am I deceiving myself? Put a 1 in the chat if you're there. That's how I feel like I am with this forgiveness thing. Like, the core of my being is like, yeah, I get it. But my brain is like, huh? Like, my mind's kind of like, what? I don't know if anyone else is feeling this. But I have to laugh because I was just in that space. So Stacy's feeling it too. Yeah, Fritz is feeling it. Yeah, it's like on some level, I know the truth of what is being shared. Like, and he says, like, I can't teach you anything you don't already know. At the deepest core of your being, you know the same thing, because Eckhart Tolle is the same expression of the divine source, intention, whatever your word is for it, as I am, as you are. Like, and he has just gotten to a level of awareness that maybe some of us haven't arrived at yet, but we know the truth of it because it's also inside of us. Pretty wild. Marie says, yes, it's so true. We have to forgive us to move on. I was told years ago that even though I forgave someone, that I didn't forgive myself. I really didn't release it. Yeah. Yeah, you for sure have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for things you've done in the past when you didn't know any better, or maybe you did things wrong. The question is the internal karma that you create. How are you with the way that you behaved in the external world, or the way that the world is, behaving with you? You have to like come to grips with your inner world, your inner dynamic, and how that is showing up with those things. And that's can be more difficult. As Fritz said, easier said than done. But that's the beauty of life, is learning how to do all of these things. All right. I wanted to jump. This is really interesting. And those of you in Mastery, I see a couple of you on here. We talked about this last night. Or yesterday. So page 102, he says, as soon as your habitual state changes from being out of the body and trapped in your mind to being in the body and present in the now, your physical body will feel lighter, clearer, and more alive. Has anyone felt that after meditation? Right? Or maybe when you wake up in the morning, when your mind is the most quiet, does your body just feel lighter? And then by the end of the day, you're like, because the mind's been going all day. We're going to talk about why in a minute. As there is no more consciousness in the body, its molecular structure actually becomes less dense. More consciousness means a lessening of the illusion of materiality. So he's literally saying that there's a shift because you become more ethereal, you become more energy than density. But from the yogic perspective, I remember my teacher saying to me, Danielle, so many people burn up their life force. They burn up their consciousness in their mind because you have think of it like a tank of gas to fuel your body. And that gas, if you are thinking, worrying, not forgiving yourself, angry at somebody, right? It's like there's holes in your gas tank and you're leaking that gas because that gas is going to feed the mind. The mind's like siphoning off the gas. Does this make sense? And so then the body does not have its life force. But when you go into meditation, when you go into a deeper state, when you release the mind, now that life force it's a full tank of gas. And so it can go into the body. And the yogis look at the body as having an anatomy of like the Ida and Pingala energy flows, and then like thousands of, they call them nadis, like just like the circulation of energy through the system. It feeds the organs and everything else. So think, doesn't it make sense? And in your own experience, haven't you experienced this? When you get angry, when you get sad, when you get, mad, and you expel all of this mind energy, like your gas tank is empty and you feel it and your body feels like crud. And then when your mind is quiet, post-meditation, a walk in nature, sitting quietly with someone you love, petting your animals, all right? Anything that brings you peace, where your mind is quiet, don't you feel this vibrancy? And what the yogis say, and I believe what Eckhart Tolle is saying too, is it's because this life force energy, the full tank, can now feed the system. And so your system literally gets pumped full of more life force, more energy, and so therefore it is literally more ethereal. It is less dense. It is more light. Literally more light. Pretty powerful. All right, who said things? Definitely makes sense. Yep, exactly. That always helps to bring me back. Angela said, my brain feels rebooted, more free space in the morning since doing Yoga Nidra. Nice. I love it. Angela's in Inner Management Mastery. I made a specialized practice for her, and I'm happy to hear that because that's what happens. As you reset what Yoga Nidra, you're doing the things that he's talking about, and you're resetting the system every day. It's powerful. There's so much chatter. Okay. Gina says, this is so good. Marie is saying, yes, it makes lots of sense. Yes, you do feel it. I think that is why I like sitting by a fire or fishing. I feel so at peace and rested when I have been under stress. Yeah, we are in a society where we do often and we forget to be. And you have to remember, like, think about your heart. It pumps, right? On, off, on, off. It, like, the heartbeat is doing, being, doing, being. And we just like do. You know, it's not good. But also being is not good either. If your heart was just being, you would be a mess. If your heart is just doing, you're having a heart attack. So if it's just being, you're probably not here. So there's a balance. All right, there is a balance. If you do, balance it with being. Yoga Nidra to me is the best way to balance being. Because it's like getting 3 hours of sleep and it doesn't take as much time. It's a beautiful way to balance out your system. It's what I've been doing for the last 8 years, and it's the same kind of stuff he's talking about. And Marie, what you do, sit by the fires, fish, like you gotta do those things. So he says, I love this, the body loves your attention. It is also a potent form of self-healing. Makes sense before I get into that, but does that not intuitively just make sense? If my life force is the thing that heals my wounds and, you know, digests my food and does all the like bodily functions, if I'm siphoning it off to the mind, my body is probably going to have trouble, right? In the West, we say stress is the underlying cause of all disease and illness. Well, this is on the energetic level, what's happening. Literally, your life force is being pulled into the brain and the mind, and so there's nothing left to feed the energy, to digest your food, to balance your hormones, to boost your immune system. Like, you're depleted. And so what he's saying is the body loves your attention. It loves when you just be. It loves when you make that mind quiet because the mind's been stealing its life force. And so the body says it's potent, a potent form of self-healing. He says most illnesses creep in when you are not present in the body, when you're in your mind, right? Because all of the gas is going to the mind, not to the body. If the master is not present in the house, all kind of shady characters will take up residence. And when you inhabit your body, it will be hard for unwanted guests to enter. Doesn't that just make sense? It just makes intuitive sense. If you are in your body, you're going to be more aware of what's going on in your system. And because there's awareness there, the light of awareness is being shined there, it is going to just blast out anything that shouldn't be there. So do your body scans throughout the day, right? Know where you are. Yes, be aware, Tammy says. And he says this, it's not only your physical immune system that becomes strengthened, but your psychic immune system is greatly enhanced as well. And I think that's amazing. He says literally, when you do this, your psychic, that's like your emotional state. And you will see the quieter you are, the more you do Yoga Nidra, Angela, the more you all do these practices of being, you will find that your literal internal vibration raises. Okay, and it makes sense energetically, right? Because we just knew we're no longer leaking our energy into our mind. It is now our life force is filled up and it's going through our being. So if that is the case, we are literally at a higher vibration. We are more light than density, than dense. And when that is the case, the vibration shifts. Well, what do we know? Emotional charges hold a certain vibration. You feel it when you walk into a room. So now your vibration has lifted. You're going to miss. Like, there's not going to be a match for you when anger comes in or sadness comes in or whatever. It's going to move through your system versus if you're at that vibration, oh, there's another thing to be angry about. Oh, my life is terrible. Right? Exactly. You show your shine. So when you're at a higher vibration, you're shiny and it's magnetic and it's attractive and people want to be near it. And it's a higher vibration. And he says literally The stuff can't stick. Energetically, fear, anger, depression, and so on, it doesn't exist because you're in a different order of reality, meaning you're at a higher level of vibration. And yes, you have powered your potential. Amen. Exactly, Lou. Amen. This is how you get to your inner potential. This is it. Like, that was the map. That's how it's done. Don't complicate it. Quiet the mind. Let that energy flow into your system. Let your life force be there. Okay? Now, who tried, at the bottom of page 103, put a 3 in the chat if you tried this exercise where he talked about laying on your back, choosing different parts of your body, and just shining the light of awareness there. I think he said for like 15 seconds. Did anybody try that? Yes, Fritz, exactly. You're no longer in a reactive state. Yeah, because your mind's clear. There's nothing to react to. Like, there's no junk for anything to hit up against. Nice. So Charlotte did this activity. Stacy did the activity. Beautiful. Beautiful. This activity is very similar to what I do in Yoga Nidra. So I didn't do this specific activity, but I do it daily when I do my Yoga Nidra. So you can do it when you're sitting in the car, even, right? You can do this anytime. Next time you're waiting, move energy through your system. Visualize it moving through your system. You'll see it gets easier and easier and easier the more you do it. All right. Page 104, he talks about if at any time you're finding it hard to get in touch with the inner body, it's usually easier to focus on your breathing first. Okay, Fritz and Angela, like my mastery. We just talked about all this last night. Breath is the bridge. Breath is the bridge that you need that takes the energy from being used up in the mind and puts it in the body. How do you do that, right? It's like conceptually, Danielle, I understand that, but don't I use my mind to do that? No, use your breath. When you breathe and you just consciously bring your awareness to your breath, it's the bridge. Like, we're so fortunate that we have to breathe all the seconds of the day. We're breathing, right? We need oxygen. And what a little hack we were given on how to recapture our energy that gets, stolen into the mind. It's just breath work. There's tons of different types of breath work, but that's all you need to do. So my favorite is breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Exhale longer than the inhale. That's my favorite way to do it. And I do it like through softly pursed lips. It's like this. Inhale. And it is just that. It just is calming. So, and that brings the energy back to the system. Pretty powerful. All right. What else was shared? So many things. So this is just the end of chapter 6. He says, this was an interesting way to listen. He talked about the art of listening. I probably should have started with this and encouraged you all to listen to me this way, not from your mind today, but from your being. He says, most people don't know how to listen because the major part of their attention is taken up with thinking. And it's true. Like, most of the time, we're in our mind about what somebody just said, or we're thinking about how that applies to our life, or we're like totally distracted by a thought that came up and we missed what the person in front of us just said. Like, that happens. The mind is a chatty place. And you can tell when somebody's present and when someone's talking in their own mind. And I loved what he had to say. He said, most human relationships consist of mainly minds interacting with each other and not human beings actually communicating, literally being in communion, being present with one another, having an exchange with one another. It's just the minds butting heads most of the time. And he says, no relationship can thrive that way. And that's why there's so much conflict in relationships. When the mind is running your life, conflict, strife, and problems are inevitable. And so he encourages you to just be in your body, right? Use your breath before you get onto a call, before you go sit down to have coffee with a friend, before you, catch up with your neighbor. Just pay attention to your breath, be in your body. I try to quiet my mind as much as possible to just receive whoever is in front of me, so that I'm fully with them and my mind's quiet, so I don't have all my blah, blah, blah taking up space, and I can take in what it is that they're saying, what it is that they're sharing. And typically, it's interesting, as you do this more and more, you'll also start to pick up on nonverbal cues more easily. Like, you'll pick up on their energy. They might be saying one thing, but you're feeling something very different from them. when you're quiet and you're tuned into your body, you'll pick up theirs. As he says, you can only know someone else's being through your own beingness. And there is a lot to be said when you can quiet your own self down, be present in your own physical body, then be receptive, like the sky, to the whoever moves through. You're going to pick up a lot. You're going to see a lot because you're just more attuned to it. There's more space, right? You have more capacity to. Lou says, better to do this than try to rehearse what we think we should say next. Yeah, I know. I used to be so nervous that I would sound stupid in a conversation or something, that I would be like, okay, what do I say? How do I respond? What do I say next? What do I say? And I would be thinking about what I was going to say that I would totally miss what they said. Now, I'm like, it's quiet in my brain and I'm just listening. And then when they stop talking, somehow I know what to say. It just comes. It comes from within. It's just there. It's intuitive, right? Because you're connected to everything when you're quiet. The mind is so limited. So limited. Marie says, I'm really working on that because I have always been a thinker. Yeah. And you just got to start implementing things that quiet your mind. So chapter 7, the portals into the unmanifested. What a title for the chapter. So the unmanifested is just, it's consciousness, it's source, it's the universe. So he's saying the portal into that. Stacy says she can relate to that, Marie. So it's the portals that he's talking about is into that. And he says, you will realize that the light is not separate from who you are, but constitutes your very essence. So the whole beginning of this chapter was, he was essentially sharing with us, look, you are that. Like, if you had, what are those pottery wheels? And you had a bunch of clay, and then with the pottery wheel, you made a bowl, and then you made a person, and then you made a pitcher, and then you made all these things. The pitcher, the bowl, that's Marie, that's Lou, that's Danielle, right? We're these different things that have form, but the essence of that is just clay. The pitcher is clay, the figurine is clay, the cup is clay, the bowl is clay, it's all clay. And what he's saying is, we are all light. We are all this unmanifested energy. We are the same. We come from the same. The way it's always been explained to me is the ocean and the wave. The ocean undulates up into the world of form and becomes a wave. This wave is called Danielle. Your wave is called Stacy. Yours is called Angela. All right? Yours is called Charlotte. And then it's like when we're in form, we get so distracted by everything out here that we forget that we're the ocean. And what he's saying is he's going to teach us the portals to go back in, for the wave to remember that it's part of the ocean. And to me, that solves life's problems, because the moment you forget that this is all just like an illusion and meant for our enjoyment and everything else, and you're connected with your source within, you're connected to the ocean, you have a very strong anchor and can experience life from a very different perspective, and it's way more powerful. So I didn't cheat. I didn't go ahead. But I assume he's going to give us different ways to get in there, the different portals that we have. So page 110 to the end of the chapter, which is page 119, seems to be where we're going. I think that should be a good chunk, enough to kind of chew on. And then we'll have chapter 8. And I don't know why I'm going forward, but I'm just like curious. I don't even know how many chapters are in this book. Oh, 8's a big chapter. All right, whatever. We'll figure that out when we get there. Stay present. Be in the now. All right, so we will finish out chapter 7. So page 110 up until 119 looks to be chapter 7. Learning about what these portals are. If you did not do your body scans this week, get in touch with where you are. Just pay attention to what your body's saying, where stuff is being held in your system. Clear out what you can by doing that 15 seconds on different parts of the body and just laying and doing that. There's profound stuff that he's sharing. But you got to do it. As Fritz said, it's one thing to know. It's a different thing to actually do and apply. So I think with that, maybe for the first time ever, we're done like a minute early. So lots of cool things discussed today. If you have not already, share this. If you got value from it, share it on your page, tag a friend, Tell people about the book club. As you know, you can jump in on and off. You don't have to read it front to back every single week. There is value here with what we share, and I think is important. So make sure that the people in your world know about this. I will see you guys on Telegram. Share your insights in between sessions. I love what Michelle said, that, you know, this was something, the meditation she had started doing. So share in there. We're all in there together. We can have the conversation in there, and we'll see you there, and then I'll see you live next week. Lots of love, guys.